From the PEN studios, this is the Imperfect Moms Club with your hosts, Lisa and Brittany.
On this week's episode of Imperfect, we're talking about what to do if your child gets sick. The ladies offer some great life hacks to get through it. Do you know what to do if your child's fever lasts longer than 3 days? Stay tuned to find out.
Woo, sick kids! It's a badge of honor. Like, if you haven't been pooped on or thrown up on, are you really a mom? I don't know. I feel like as moms, we need to have those badges like they have in Girl Scouts, like finally potty trained my kid, or like I got pooped on and didn't freak out, or I took the kid to the restaurant by myself. We need our little badges. They're not our accomplishments. Like, this needs to be a thing.
Yep. Especially for, there's like a ton of different badges just for sick kids. Oh man, I gotta fill you guys in on Lily. So she started this part-time preschool, right? August 31st was her first day. She went to preschool, I think 3 days. So Tuesday, Thursday, and the next Tuesday. And then she got really sick. I kept calling the nurses at the children's hospital, like the on-call nurses line, and they kept telling me the same stuff, like, okay, with fevers, you want to treat the fever, blah, 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 and so I was like, okay. And then I think because of her heart history, one of the nurses was like, okay, let me check with your like pediatrician's on-call provider and see like what they want to do. So the provider was like, okay, well, if anything gets worse, then take her to the ER. Then she jumped from 100 to 102 in like really short. So I was like, okay. So we went to the ER, and I don't know. Like, I feel like I took my kids to the ER. Like, all moms that do that need a medal or something, because it's, it's tough. Anyway, we go to the ER, and I was like, okay, she's probably fine. It's fine. And so they did the test. She didn't have COVID. And then she just had rhinoenterovirus, which is just like basically the common cold with like GI stuff thrown in. So I was like, okay, cool. So we went home. She was sick. But then she got me sick, and I was very sick. So I had like really sore throat, and I was coughing, whatever. So, we dealt with that. So that was fine. Then she was feeling better, no fevers for days. I was like, cool, let's go back to preschool. And then she went back to preschool for 1 day. 1 day.
And it's like half a day too, right?
Yeah, it's only like she was there for 2.5 hours, right? So I brought her home. And then that evening, she started like coughing like I've never heard her cough before. It was like a really, really wet cough. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But then she started having like these really high fevers. And so I was freaking out, and I was calling the nurses line. Like, all of these people think I'm nuts now, because I think I've talked to like all of them probably 10 times. In the meantime, all of this is happening. I got 2 separate emails from my preschool saying that people had tested positive for COVID.
Oh no.
Right. So 2 emails. So I would, and they say in the email, like they'll send it to that class and be like, this child was there on this day, just so like the parents know, whatever. And so I was like, okay. So somebody had COVID with my kid. Okay, cool. So, not cool, but that's what I tell myself, so I don't like totally lose it. I was like, okay, this is enough. I need to know. So the thing about me is like, I have to know exactly what my kid has. And I think that's left over from like when I had cancer, because cancer is a thing, right? It's a thing that we know what it is and we know how to cure it and whatever, because like it sets me off when doctors are like, oh, it's some virus, or like it's just whatever.
Yeah, I want to know what virus.
Yeah, I'm like, but what virus? What is it? Like, tell me. I want answers. I don't just want like this wishy-washy whatever. So we went back to the ER. And I remember I was in the place, and I had made an appointment with her pediatrician, because they told me, they were like, just go to the pediatrician, whatever. And so I was waiting in there, and I was like, the pediatrician is just going to give her the same test, that swab. So I could just do that. So I was about to leave and they called her back because they had a room for her finally at the ER. And so I wheeled her with the stroller, and then the nurses, like I saw the nurses, and I don't know what happened to me, but like all of a sudden I was like very emotional.
Oh,
There were people in there. And so I was like, does she need to stay? Like, and then all I said was, I don't want to take a room away from a kid that really needs it. And then I just like broke down. And so like I'm in public, like people are seeing me cry. And so the nurses were like, let's go back to a room, get some privacy. So I'm just like bawling at these nurses. Like Lily was fine. I was a mess. Like, so, and they were
well,
like,
you were definitely tired. I mean, like physically and emotionally, you're at your wit's end. And like you just said, you were like about to leave. So you were like, forget this, I'm going home. And they're like, just kidding, come on.
Yeah.
Talk about a roller coaster.
She had RSV is what she had. So she had Rhino Monroe first, and then it turns out she had RSV. So still wasn't COVID, but I don't know. So the RSV, like it was just a lot of fevers. And like she's never been that sick before. And when she had the flu when she was a couple months old, but I think she, like after 2 days of snot, she was fine. I'm the one that I got the flu from her, and I was like dead for a week, but she was fine, and so I think it's just the fact that like a common cold and then RSV just completely mowed her down. Like I was just, because then I'm thinking about like all of this pandemic and quarantines, and we're all afraid of each other. And like I understand all the restrictions, like it makes sense to me, but then it also, like Lily had 6 or 7 months of building up an immune system, and then everything was shut down, and now she has nothing. And so now things that may not have gotten her as sick, like now are making her really sick. And she's had to miss school more often than she's been to school, I think. So like that's making me like, it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, because there is good exposure to germs. It actually does make you healthier because your body builds up an immunity to it, and it builds up a tolerance for it. And yeah, like we've had to do this quarantine thing and the mask thing and the 6 feet away thing and all that stuff, to avoid one disease, but then we're kind of like making the other ones just hit that much harder.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I said, we're going to be looking back at this in 20 years and we're going to be shaking our heads at ourselves, but I don't know. It's hard. It's hard on the kids. And I've noticed that too. Like when a cold does hit, it hits a lot harder. Like it's not like just a 1 or 2 day thing. It's like, oh, I'm out.
Yeah. Like I was calling the nurses like 20 times a day because I was like, no, you don't understand. Like she's dying right now. Like she's like, obviously something's very wrong, but like it wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, I don't know. But anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to like rant there. My part was supposed to be shorter. People listening, I wasn't supposed to sound so crazy, but
like you're just validating everyone else who's like, yes, that happened to me too. I cried in front of the nurses too.
Oh my God. Yeah. They like, Lily's like singing and I'm like sobbing.
She's like, Peppa Pig. And you're like, oh my goodness, just someone help me.
Like, what about all the other kids that really are dying? And like, because like when you're crying or whatever, there's like one thought that just keeps playing on repeat. And the thought in my head was, I'm taking someone else's bed away. Cause like the news keeps talking about how there's like not enough beds anymore and all this stuff. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm contributing to the problem. I'm the problem. And then it just like compounds on itself. And then all of a sudden I'm like a mess at the ER. And the nurses are like, whoa, like you need to like breathe, like take a breath. Yeah. Like it'll be okay.
Nurses are great.
Yeah.
Like I know doctors go to school forever, but anytime I've had a family member with a serious condition, the nurses are the real troopers here. Like they are the ones who like know all of the things. They know all the numbers. And I've seen them even correct the doctors, which is a little scary, but they are troopers. I have a friend at the school. I watch her kid a few days a week and she's a nurse and she's like, yeah, I did 2 18-hour shifts back to back. And I'm like, oh, girl, you need a day off. Like, yeah, I'll watch your kid, bring her over. I don't care. You just go sleep all day. It's fine. Okay, I think I've told this story before, but I will tell it again. If there's any other significant others listening who don't normally stay home with the children. Okay, so I don't remember which daughter it was, but one of my girls had gotten the stomach bug and just threw up like all down the hallway. We're talking like all the way from the bedroom to like the bathroom. The sheets were covered in vomit. It was just disgusting. And so I obviously wasn't going to be going to work that day. And I hadn't gotten to the mess yet. I was just getting her in the bathtub, trying to get her cleaned up.
Mhm.
And my husband's like walking out the door to go to work. And he's like, have a nice day off. And I was like, no, you get back in here. I made him come back because I couldn't leave. I had a baby in the bath. I was like, this is not a day off. I have vomit down the hall. I have to clean her bed sheets again. This is not a day off. And I like went off on him. And he's like, you're right. I am so sorry. I'm like, I'll go to work. I'll teach high school and you can stay here with the sick throw up baby. I'll go. I'd gladly teach high school and deal with this. So I don't know. Like sometimes when you have to call in because you have a sick kid, people kind of roll their eyes, but you know what? It's not a day off. It's not. And we feel just as guilty about having to call and ask and say, sorry, boss, I can't come in today. My kid's sick, so
Having a sick kid. Yeah, it's
no fun.
no fun.
Especially when you're both sick.
That 1 week where Lily had a cold and then I got a cold, we were both like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no way. Like, I don't understand. Like, I've had colds before, like so many colds, but again, everybody's immune systems are like trash now. So, same with mine. And so, I had a pretty good immune system there for a long time. I was, my immune system laughed at colds. I literally heard it laugh at and then now it's like, oh, I'm dying.
Yeah.
But
I tell all the new teachers who work with little kids, I'm like, your first year, you're going to get like so sick, but then you're going to be great. It's going to be fine because you're around kids all the time. They're sneezing on you. They're sneezing on your food. They're licking their boogers and then touching your phone. It's just, it's gross. It's just gross. It's gross. But,
yeah. That's actually one of the reasons that I'm glad that she's going to preschool is so she can get exposed to stuff. But I guess I underestimated how sick she would get, where like she can't go to school being that sick. So I'm like, okay, well, at this point, like, she's not really, she's getting exposed, but then dying and then getting exposed and then die. Like, what's the point of anything?
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully she'll start to build up an immune system, but yeah, it's hard, maybe she'll just get all of her sick days out now when she's little. And then when she gets to elementary, she'll be like, I got this. Like, come at me, germs. Like, I can do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to talk about some tips for having a sick kid and some things that we do that really work for us. So stick around.
The Imperfect Moms Club is brought to you by...
Look at that, huh? So they just magically showed up. Literally, I just opened the door and they were there.
I ordered them, honey.
Oh!
We are very happy with our new Casper.
The Comfort is like a Lucius cloud, one of the softer clouds. But it's also a firm cloud, like a Oratio cloud. Always want to be a weatherman. Guess who I am?
It's the most exciting thing that's happened in our bedroom in a long time. A long time, right?
I was on the fence about changing from a manual to an electric toothbrush, but my hygienist said going electric could lead to way cleaner teeth. She said get the one inspired by dentists, with the round brush head.
Go pro with Oral-B. Oral-B's gentle rounded brush head removes more plaque along the gum line for cleaner teeth and healthier gums. And unlike Sonicare, Oral-B is the first electric toothbrush brand accepted by the ADA for its effectiveness and safety.
What an amazing clean. I'll only use an Oral-B.
Oral-B. Brush like a pro.
This is the Imperfect Moms Club on PEN. Get in touch with the show through the PEN listener hotline at 833-PODS-NET. That's 833-763-7638. And now, back to the Imperfect Moms Club on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Welcome back. Now let's talk about some tips. Brittany, take it away.
Yes. So having sick kids sucks, but here's some ways to make it suck less. I wrote that out and I was like, oh yeah, that needs to go on a t-shirt. All right. So this first one, when I first say it, you're going to look at me and be like, what? But then just hear me out. Okay. Christmas lights. You got to get the Christmas lights out. This is why. So one year, my family, we literally, I can never say that word correctly. Sorry. We had this stomach bug 7 times in 1 year.
Oh no.
We all lost like so much weight. We were just throwing up every weekend.
Oh no.
7 times. So our kids spent a lot of time in bed, a lot more time in their bedrooms than they normally would. So by like the 3rd or 4th round, I was like, forget this. I pulled out our tub of like Christmas decorations and I got out the Christmas lights and I put them everywhere in their bedrooms, like on the dresser. You know, if they have like stuff on the wall, like a picture, or like one of my kids had like a unicorn head on her wall, I would like drape it over. Aww. And I just put them all over because it made sitting in their bedroom a little less boring and I could leave them on all night long because, you know, I was getting up a lot at night to go check on them and like to help them if they were throwing up. So I didn't have to like flick on the light. There was already like a dim light on. It was just nice and it was just a little special. And it just took me 5 minutes to pull them out and just put them everywhere, just here, and just make it a little more cozy and just a little more pretty.
That's so sweet. Oh. I want to cry. That's really sweet.
You know what? I think we need our husbands to do this for us when we're sick. Like,
yeah, seriously.
Put out some Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Man, I want some new fuzzy socks. Yeah. Like, where are you? Get over here and listen to my podcast.
I like it. I love it. So yours is so sweet. Like mine are all very clinical.
Well, mine get a little boring halfway down. I shouldn't have started off with the best one, but
so popsicles.
Yeah.
So Lily loves popsicles and I only let her have one like every once in a while as a special treat. But if she's, if baby's running a fever or if your toddler's running a fever and like they're very hot and you need them to, if they won't like drink just water or anything, like popsicles are great. They cool her down and, they're fun. Like I love popsicles. Like what toddler doesn't love popsicles? So, I mean, if they can be excited to have a treat, but then also like help bring the fever down, then that's win-win.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I thought they only sold popsicles in the summertime. And so then when I was at the grocery store and I realized it was like mid-February and popsicles were still in stock, I was like, what the heck, Mom? Like you've been holding out on me. There's popsicles here.
And then you became an adult and realized that you can buy popsicles whenever, and then your life truly began.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever I want. This one's kind of fun. So it's called, I call it a drive-in movie. So this is more for like your littler kids, like your toddlers, like your bigger babies. So you get a laundry basket and you put like their duvet in it or like a pillow or a blanket, and you grab some snacks, something that they'll actually eat, which is hard when they're sick, but whatever they're eating, pull those out and you pop on a Netflix show on your computer or on your TV, and they sit in like the little basket and you can like push them around if you want to move them from the bedroom to the living room or to the kitchen or wherever it is that like you need to be. Like if you're working from home, you can kids love laundry basket rides. Like seriously, you plop them in there and you just push and they're like, woo! It's like better than Disney. And like, if you're not doing it in the living room, you bring your laptop, you just pop it up, you put on a show, and they just like snuggle up in the little basket. It is so cute. And the little feet stick out. Oh, I love it.
I feel like, so I promise I'm also like a tender, loving parent. I just, my tips are boring.
It takes all kinds.
Okay, so my third one is fluids are more important than food. Because when a kid is sick, when I'm sick, like I don't want to eat either, right? And so after 3 billion calls with the nursing staff at Children's Hospital. Like, I promise these people have me on a list for like, don't answer this lady, she's crazy. So I called them so many times, but finally, like, they were all telling me, they're like, as long as she's drinking, it's fine. Don't force her to eat anything. I would never want to force her to eat anyway, but I was also like, I was concerned because I was like, she's eating less, so they were like, it's fine as long as she's drinking enough, she'll eat more as she gets to feeling better, because her appetite will come back. I mean, it did come back, so that's good. But yeah, so if you notice your toddler is eating a lot less, don't freak out. Just make sure they're getting plenty of fluids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
and
can
that
get
includes
that
popsicles.
Yeah, like that. You can get that Pedialyte stuff at the store. You can freeze it, make your own popsicles, or you know what? If they my mom would get me Gatorade and just let me drink Gatorade.
Yeah,
I don't know, just something.
Yeah. They suggested on the phone. They suggested Gatorade and even like yogurt. Like if your toddler, your little one's having stomach issues or throwing up or having diarrhea or something, yogurt is good because it like introduces the bacteria back into their system that they're losing, and so it's good. And plus, like, yogurt is fun to eat because it's like mushy and stuff, and so it might be a little easier for little tummies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my kids love those Go-Gurts, those little Go-Gurt things. And you can freeze them too. Ooh. So if they, for whatever reason, won't eat them just straight out of the fridge, pop them in the freezer, and then you just cut it like a popsicle, and you just push it out, and maybe that'll work.
I've never done that before.
All right. So my third one, this is something my mom did for me when I was like a teenager. She would make me a little gift bag. Only if I was like really sick. If it was like a 1-day cold, she wouldn't do it. I had to be like really sick and like earn my gift bag. So in the gift bag, she would like go to the dollar store and like get like an actual like bag, like with like characters on it and stuff. She'd get me like cans of soup, like the good soup, like not just like the Walmart brand, like the good soup, tissues, lotion. She would buy me flowers. So cute. She'd get me a magazine. I like never got magazines unless I was sick. I don't know. I just never did. So she'd get me a magazine, and I was a 90s kid. So she would rent me a movie. Ooh. Like now it's so easy. You just like log on to Netflix or log on to Paramount
now
Plus.
Will never know.
They'll never understand going through the aisles and like looking for just the right movie. And then you all had to like say, yes, this is what we're going to watch. And then you go up to the person. They're like, no, it's out. And you're like, oh, like,
yeah, man, Blockbuster is my jam.
Yeah. So she'd get me a movie, and it made me feel really special because I didn't like being sick. I felt all gross, and she's like, here, have a gift bag. I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom.
So my last tip for you guys for this segment is, so this is actually something really important that I learned from the nurses and my mom. My mom's a researcher and scientist, and so she told me this too. But fevers, if they last more than 3 days, then it's probably a bacterial infection. Because viruses, their fevers, usually like your fever goes down after 3 days. So if you're still spiking fevers after that 3rd day, then it's time to go back to the pediatrician because it might be a bacterial thing. I didn't know that, but I'm really glad that I know that now, because the next time, like, I'll like count and I'm like, oh, I know, So like it was cool because I went to her pediatrician and I was like, I happen to know, like. Like Lily has had a fever now for 4 days, and the doctor's like, okay, like let's talk about like other stuff. So I don't know, because I mean these days I feel like people just always like they're just gonna assume that it might be COVID, and so they'll just check for virus stuff. And so I guess especially during this time, it's important to count the number of days that there's a fever, and it doesn't have to be like a high fever either. Like it can be like anything above 100.4. If they're doing that for 4 days in a row, then it might be bacterial.
All right. So this one's boring, but necessary. Towels are your friend. So if you can't throw an item in the washing machine, throw a towel on it. So like your couch, a carpet, whatever is within reach of the child or the sick person, just put a towel over it. Like, we're not shooting a magazine for home home and gardens, like just cover it with a towel because you can rip the towel off and wash it. You can't just throw a rug in the washing machine. Yeah. So basically your entire house is a splash zone, when it comes to
Oh my God.
diarrhea and vomiting. So just pull out all the beach towels and put them down. Yeah, I don't know why I threw this in here with my notes, but it's fun story time about throwing up. I have a chipped tooth from when I threw up once.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not that noticeable, but if you like come in really close, you're like, wait, why is her tooth chipped? So I was really sick, and I was in the bathroom and I was throwing up, and I literally passed out, and I don't know how long I was out, and then I woke up and I was like, okay, fine, I'm good. I like cleaned everything up, whatever. And then like the next morning I was like brushing my teeth and my tooth was chipped. And I like at that point couldn't find the chip. So when I went to the dentist the next time, they're like, hey, you chipped a tooth. Were you like out partying? I'm like, no, I'm like a boring kindergarten teacher. I was throwing up. And he's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, how exciting do you think my life is, man? I have a 3-month-old. I'm not out partying.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Lay down double layers of bedding if your kid is sick.
Mm-hmm.
You do like the fitted sheet and like a towel or thick blanket, and then another fitted sheet on top. So if in the middle of the night you have to change the bedding, you just rip that first layer off and rip the towel off, and bam, you already have another fitted sheet on it.
That's great because we had that issue. So Lily wasn't sick, but she loves to dump water out on herself in her bed, and she loves dumping water, and then she screams because she doesn't have any water anymore. And we're like,
not because she's wet, because she's out of water.
Yeah, because we're like, dude, what? And then she cries because you can't sleep in a puddle, right? So yes, there was one day, it was like 3 in the GD morning, and and so she was crying, and then I had to like have my husband help me like get all of her babies off of the crib and get the sheet out, and then go find another fitted sheet and then put it on and put all the babies. Yeah, no, that definitely would have saved me a lot of headache. Oh my God, this child.
You just get mad because like it won't come off, and then the other fitted sheet won't go on the right way, and it keeps popping off the corner.
It's just, toddler beds, like they're so tiny. And like everything, it's just so tight. And then, I could go on and on, but I don't want to get heated.
Okay, got 2 more quick tips. So Lisa already mentioned the popsicle thing. My mom would do that for me to get my fever down, and she'd put me in the shower with a popsicle. If you want to get them in the bath to help cool down their temperature, you can also put glow sticks in the bathtub. My kids love that. So I'll buy a pack of glow sticks from the Dollar Tree because they come in a pack of like 5 or whatever, and I just keep them in my pantry like just in case, and just throw those in, and it just it makes their day. It makes them have a little bit of a better day. And then the last one is, first I want to say, like, your kid's going to be watching a lot more TV, and that's okay. It's totally fine because they just need to be resting. It's fine. But if you get that like mom guilt of, oh my word, they're watching TV from the moment they awake to the moment they're asleep, go on YouTube and look up read aloud books. Like tons and tons of people will just sit there in front of a camera and just read a book, and they'll show you the pictures. Sometimes they'll do voices. Sometimes people have puppets, and like the kids really like it. So they're like watching TV, but they're actually reading the book, and it makes you feel a little bit better about having the TV on all day. But again, like, hey, no shame here. If you want to go through a whole season of Puppy Dog Pals, just go for it. It's fine.
You know what else makes me feel better about screen time? So the listeners don't know this, but my family's French. So I'm fluent in French. Although you wouldn't know because I don't have an accent. But anyway, so I've started slowly Frenchifying Lily's life, and I will put her shows in French so that I don't feel as guilty, because I'm like, you know what? She's absorbing the French language and she's learning French words. So, sue me. She's going to watch Puppy Dog Pals for like the 2nd hour in a row. It's fine though, because it's in a different language. So boom, drop the mic.
Put subtitles on. Now they're reading. Boom.
There's a meme that has like put subtitles on, and then it says modern problems require modern solutions. Okay, so we are going to take another quick break, and then I found an article called The 5 Stages of Having Sick Children that I wanted to share with you guys.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Imagine a world where potty training is fun, fast, and easy. Only pull-ups have Disney graphics that fade when wet to teach big kids to stay dry. So they're motivated to keep the music going.
I'm a big kid now.
Crest gum and sensitivity turns your ocean to You like your drinks nice and cold, but the sensitive teeth thing is getting old. Time to say goodbye to the pain, cause having sensitive teeth is just so lame. Crest gum and sensitivity turns your ocean to
80% of sensitivity starts at the gum line. Treat it at the source with Crest Gum and Sensitivity. Crest. Healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
No matter what all the baby experts say, the perfect way to care for your baby is your own way. And that inspired our perfect diaper to be the softest ever with plant-based materials. Huggies Special Delivery.
Enjoying this show? Be sure to check out all the shows across the Podcast Entertainment Network, where there's a show for every interest. Visit www.podcastentertainment.com to browse through the full collection of shows. And now, back to the Imperfect Moms Club on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. I'm going to talk about this article that I found, and the blog that I got it off is Creating My Happiness. That's just what her blog is called. So if you want to Google her later or something. So she has 5 stages, which is actually the 5 stages of grief are the same.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through them, and then we can kind of talk about like from our own experience. So step 1 or stage 1 is denial. Mm-hmm. She describes this as ignoring the first signs of sickness in the hopes that it's just allergies or that it will go away. And then you end up, repeating to yourself, she's not sick, she's not sick, she's not sick. That definitely does happen. I can concur, but I feel like with Lily's recent thing, like her symptoms were so bad immediately that it wasn't like, there was no way I wasn't in denial about that. I was immediately like, yeah, she's sick. But anyway, do you have any experience with the denial stage of sickness?
Well, I see it a lot because of my job. More so in preschool and daycare than in kindergarten. But we'd have some kid come in and I'm looking at him and I'm like, Sophie doesn't look so good. And mom's like, oh, she's fine, and I'm not trying to like shame moms because I get it. You got to go into work. There's pressure from your boss and all of that. And I think the pandemic has made that a little bit easier because people figured out like they can work from home. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so they give their kid Tylenol in the morning because you can't come to preschool with a fever. And like by 12 o'clock, that fever would kick right in. And I'm like, And like, I always felt bad. Like I always felt bad for the mom having to call him and be like, hey, so I need you to come get her. Oh, are you sure? Like, yeah, they like threw up. So you need to come get them. Oh my word, so bad. But yeah, that denial. And I do it too. I do it with my kids. I do it with me. If I'm going to throw up, I'm like, no, I'm not going to throw up. It's fine. I try to talk myself out of it.
Yeah, no, if it's me, like my husband is the one that tells me I'm sick because like I'm like, I'm not sick. I'm never sick. I'm a mom. Like I'm not sick. We're not allowed to get sick. Like what are you talking about?
We're not allowed. I went to work once and I had no voice. I literally taught with hand gestures. Like I probably shouldn't have been there. I couldn't even whisper. The kids were like, what, Miss Brittany? And I'm like, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Oh my God. Oh no.
They were trying. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What? I can't jump on top of the table. What?
Oh no. So stage 2 is anger. And it's not anger at the child. It's anger at like literally everyone else in the entire world. So either your husband isn't doing enough to help, for me. So I can talk about anger because I had a ton of it when Lily was sick. So I was mad at the nurses because they weren't taking it seriously and they just kept telling me the same shit that I already told me. And I didn't want to listen. And I didn't want to take in the advice. I wanted them to be as worried as I was, right? So I was like, why do these nurses not care? Seriously, it's your job. And I feel really bad. So if you're a nurse and you're listening to this, I know how much you care about my kid. And I know how much you care about your patients. And I was an irrational mess and I was just angry at everyone. And then I was mad at whoever sent their kid to school with this thing. Because I mean, again, I understand like people have jobs and stuff, but for me, like even if Lily didn't have COVID either time, but she had symptoms. And if your kid has symptoms, like, I don't know, I kept Lily home. I wasn't gonna, because I knew that if she was having symptoms, then she was probably contagious. I mean, in RSV, I looked it up. I think RSV, you're contagious until you like don't have symptoms anymore, or you don't have like bad symptoms anymore. She still has a cough, but like she hasn't had anything else in like a week. So, but yeah. So I was mad at that parent for sending their sick kid to school and getting my kid sick. And it's crazy because had I been in my right mind, I wouldn't have been. But it was just because like I was like, it's everyone's fault but mine. Like it's everyone's fault but Lily's, and and then I mean, then you get angry at yourself, and so it's just a lot of anger, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, you go in that mama bear mode, you're trying to protect your baby and you're like, okay, who did this? It's normal to try and be like, okay, where did it start? Who started this?
And like the anger, so that anger surprised me because I'm the kind of person that like I love natural exposure to stuff. Like I think that like natural immunity is the best thing that you can have. You're setting your kid up for success if they are exposed to lots of stuff and then their body learns how to defend itself, right? That's a whole other, we can talk about that. But yeah, so I'm all about natural exposure. So like when Lily had the flu when she was a few months old, I was like, good, because she's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna make sure she's fine, and then when she's fine, she'll be able to fight stuff off better afterwards. So I actually like natural exposure, but there's something about seeing your kid being sick. Yeah, it's mama bear comes out, and then you're like, who did this to my kid? So it was surprising to me, but yeah. The third stage is bargaining. So this is like, could you just make it to the weekend? Can you just, we're going on this big trip, or like mommy has a meeting or whatever. Can you just wait? Can we wait? Can we just whatever? So, because kids always get sick at really inconvenient times. It always happens. You have a lot to get done, and then here your kid is sick and making you stop what you're doing, and you lose your momentum, and then yeah. And then she also goes on to say that later it's a different kind of bargaining. Later it's, could it be me instead of my kid? So it's still bargaining. It's just a different kind.
Oh yeah. I would always rather be sick than have my kids be sick. I would always like, if you can't take it on, but like, I wish I could just be like, tap out. Like, no, I'll do it. Like I volunteer as tribute. Like I will do it. I don't like seeing them that way. It just, because you feel helpless, even though you try all the things, you follow the doctor's advice, you do all the hacks, they're still sick and you can't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. So number 4, I guess that kind of brings it into number 4. Number 4 is depression. This is, mom guilt sets in, right? You're guilty because you're like, oh my God, I brought them to this public place. I'm the reason that they were even able to catch this thing from this, whatever. Like, had I not brought Lily to preschool that day, she wouldn't have caught RSV from that kid, right? But I wanted to bring her to preschool because preschool is fun, and I didn't know, right? But then there's also, and this made me laugh. So the depression also that you realize that you'll have to deal with having a sick kid.
Yeah, there's that. That sucks.
Realizing that you'll have to watch Bluey all day, or I don't mind watching Bluey all day. I love Bluey, but you have to watch Coco Melon all day, or realizing that you'll inevitably also get sick. There's the depression that, so. But good news, the depression will turn into acceptance. And acceptance is when you're finally like, okay, let's do this. Like, you're sick. Let's get you feeling better. And honestly, like when Lily was really sick, she slept in bed with us for a few nights, and I loved it. I knew she was sick, and I knew that, and we didn't really sleep that much because she kept rolling around and putting her foot in my face and whatever, but I really loved it. And I love the extra cuddling, and it's wonderful, so once you get past the negatives, you can just be like, oh, my toddler wants me and needs me, and she just wants cuddles and kisses, and I want to give her all of that, so Lily's feeling way better now, and she's been back in her own bed for a while, but I looked at Paul the other night, and I was like, can we just bring her in here again? He was like, no. Like, I didn't get any sleep, and neither did you. And I was like, but she's so cute.
And I like her.
Yeah. And plus, this sounds mean, but when toddlers are sick, they don't have the energy to be toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have the energy to run you ragged all day. And so there's like that tiny selfish part of you that's like, I'm not 100% sad.
Mm-hmm.
There's
sleep.
the 0.00001% that's like, this is okay. This works for me today.
Yeah, because they will nap, hopefully, really good.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah, and even if they're not napping, like Lily would just stand there watching TV, and she would just stand there, and she never just stands. Like, if she's awake, she's moving. Like, she's never, and so I would look at her on the couch, and she was just sitting there watching TV. And I was like, oh my God.
She's not moving.
God, she's not moving.
I think Lily's probably too young to do this, but my daughter, who's 6, will do this. So we will establish the fact that, okay, you are sick. And then like a switch. Oh, Mom, can I have a drink of water? And she'll get like really raspy. And I'm like, hold up.
Oh my God.
30 seconds ago, you were talking to me with your regular voice. And she'll, like, the eyes will half closed. And I'm like, I need to rest because I'm sick. Can I have my tablet? And I'm like, okay, quit the show. Like, come on. I know we're sick. I'm going to take care of you. Yes, I'm probably going to baby you today, but stop the theatrics. Okay. We're not in the 1800s. No, stop it. Just stop it. Because this is annoying.
So it's really funny because so Lily, she loves Band-Aids. She calls them boo-boos. And she's basically, so I don't know if you'll find this reference funny or if you love LeBron James, but she's basically LeBron James at home. And what I mean by that is she'll pretend to fall, or she'll sit on the ground, and then she's like, I need a boo-boo, like every 5 minutes. So we're like, no, honey, you don't, whatever, and then she fell at her preschool on the playground, and she like skinned her knee, and it was the cutest thing ever. They sent home an accident report, and it was like a tiny little accident report slip of paper, and it said, she fell on the playground, she skinned her knee, and then it said, what they did. They were like, TLC was first, which I loved. I was like, oh, and they gave her hugs. That's so cute. But then it said, it was like, we did a cold compress, but she did not want a Band-Aid. And I was so surprised. Like, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. What do you mean she didn't want a Band-Aid? She loves Band-Aids.
Yeah.
But so I tried, she still has a cut on her knee, and like, I'll try to put a Band-Aid on it, but she just wants to play with the Band-Aid. Like, she won't leave it on there. So I think that maybe she just like didn't want anything like stuck to her, I guess. Maybe that's why she didn't want the Band-Aid. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty funny to read that. I was like, what do you mean she didn't want a Band-Aid? Who abducted my child? And then like, now there's an alien in the form of my daughter. Like, I don't understand.
They like replaced her.
Yeah, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something. I wanted to add something. I added another stage for like during this pandemic, and that's the panic stage. Because I feel like during this pandemic, it's been, everyone's kind of heightened. And so if there's sickness, like people are assuming it's COVID and it's whatever. And so I'll be completely honest here. So I wasn't panicking so much that Lily had COVID and that she was sick with COVID and whatever, because I knew that, okay, it's a sickness, she might get really sick. We can handle it. Like doctors will be able to help her, whatever. The panic for me was her preschool, like having to call the preschool and say Lily has COVID, and then them having to email the parents, and then all of the moms that would be like, maybe angry with me or like start drama or what. Like I was panicking about that more than her having COVID. Like I was panicking about, oh my God, people are going to know she has COVID at school, and they're going to think that, oh my God, how could you let your kid go to school with COVID? Because it's become such a crazy thing.
We did have a positive case at our school, and then we had a couple of scares where we had to be like, okay, we need you to test negative before you come back and whatever. And like, we tried to do everything right. And like, the rules are always changing. Like 1 week you do this and the other week you do that. So we like contacted the school board. We made a plan for the school. Like, okay, this is how we're going to handle this. We're not going to panic. Still can't make everybody happy, like if you're like too extreme one way, you have this group mad at you. If you're too extreme this way, you got that group mad at you. Then you're like, okay, let's just ride in the middle. And there's still someone mad. So it's like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah. Like, and like that's the craziest part is that like, I don't know. There's so many camps, like there's, so it's like, none of us know what we're doing, and we're just, it's just, so yeah, the panic for me, and it didn't last very long. My husband actually, he was like, Lisa, I've never seen you like this. Like, why are you panicking like this? Like, we've talked about this, like, and I'm like, but I'm scared of the parents. I'm not scared of my, I'm not scared of my daughter having COVID because I know that there's ways to make her better, but I'm scared of the backlash and the parents and the stuff. And I don't want her medical whatever being sent to everybody, because they send an email to every parent if your kid has COVID, like all the parents have to know, which I understand they do, but like I don't know, I mean, it's kind of like, well, I don't want people to know something like that about my family, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, I don't know. Anyway.
So I like people, they panic, and I'm like, first of all, panicking isn't going to do anything. You're not going to be thinking rationally if you're panicking. So let's say, okay, we test positive for COVID. Don't panic. Just, okay, take it one step at a time. Let's figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to handle this, and then everyone just needs to be gracious. Like, again, nobody knows what's really going on. Like, we're all just trying to do our best here. And like, we can all have very grown-up conversations and be nice and cordial and agree to disagree sometimes. And that's okay. And just parents need to treat each other with grace, because parenting is already hard enough. And then when you're scared of Susan down the block judging you and making a nasty Facebook post about you later, like it's a lot of extra pressure that it doesn't really help anybody. Nobody needs it. So all you moms out there, treat each other with love and kindness and grace. And if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Okay? Just don't say anything at all. So when I was going into college, my junior year of college, I got mono. I don't know what the real term is, but you know what mono is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got mono and it was awful. And I just slept all day on the couch. It was horrible. Like I would sleep. It's going to sound so gross, but I would take 2 tissues and like shove them up my nose because I was dripping so bad I couldn't sleep. It was horrible. It was horrible. But that was when I learned how to crochet. Like I would lay on the bed or on the couch and I would crochet like a few rounds. I was making a blanket. I would only have enough energy to crochet like 2 rounds, and then I'd pass out and fall asleep on the couch.
Oh, wow.
And then I'd wake up and I'd crochet a couple more rounds and I'd pass out and sleep. So my blanket was like slowly getting bigger and bigger while I was sick. And by the time I was done with mono, I had this big like Afghan blanket I had made, and I still have it. The colors are so ugly, but I picked them out while I was sick. So go figure. And it's funny because you can see in the center, all my stitches are like really tight because I didn't know what I was doing. And then like, you can tell like, oh, she probably passed out about like right here because it's really loose. Then she woke up again. So
oh my God.
I'm going to keep it forever because it tells a story. It's like, you can see the cycle of me fighting off mono in this blanket.
I didn't realize that that mono was that bad. So they actually thought I had mono before they found out that it was cancer. So because I had the swollen lymph nodes and I was really, really tired. And so mono was the first thing that they tested me for. But yep, was a mono. And somebody else at my school actually did have mono, and she missed school for like 2 months, I think. Like mono, from what I hear, is really, really rough.
Well, I got it from now he's my husband. I got it from my boyfriend, Michael. So at the time, we were only allowed to hold hands. Like my dad was like, I don't want you kissing. I don't want any of that. So we're like, okay, we promise. And we like went for a hike and I kissed him. And I came back from the hike and I had mono. And Mom's like, whoa, that's so weird because Mike had mono. And I'm like, yeah, we shared a soda once. So that's probably what happened. So that's like my little warning to like all the tweens out there. And I'm like, don't kiss boys. They give you mono.
That's hilarious.
Having sick kids, like it totally sucks. Hopefully listening to our podcast today helps it suck a little bit less. At least, you're not alone out there. Try a couple hacks. Let us know how it goes. And again, if you just want to let them watch Bluey all day, that's okay by me. You got my thumbs up. Teacher approved. Go
Mine
for
too.
it.
2 thumbs up because Bluey is
2
a great
thumbs
show.
Want to get in touch with the show? Email us at imperfect@podcastentertainment.com. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Imperfect Moms Club.